welcome back everyone, it's time to go balls deep. Today we are back again with another banger Demon Slayer video because your support on the last one was so great. We're going to be covering the entirety. Yes, that's right. Everything about the most overpowered and important Demon Slayer in history. The first breath user, Yoriichi Tsugikuni. Now, Yoriichi's story is directly linked with Tanjiro's, so it's very important that you understand all of this. Although whilst being a major importance to the narrative of Demon Slayer, Yoriichi is still a side character. His importance doesn't outweigh that of Tanjiro's nor Nezuko, but if he didn't exist, then the setup of the story would be much different. In fact, it would be fair to say that Yoriichi is literally the foundation in Demon Slayer, having a chance to defeat Muzan. Why? Well, this legend was the progenitor of creating breath styles and the first to bear the Demon Slayer mark on his forehead. So let's get right into our guy's story.
Now let me pause the video real quick.
Boo this man!
I know! This is great news, not bad news.
I'm listening.
Right now, Crunchyroll are currently giving away a free 14-day free trial of Crunchyroll Premium to anyone that signs up at crunchyroll.com/animeballsdeep. Check the link in the description and pinned comment. Trust me, you won't regret it, fam.
No way!
This means you get free, professionally subbed HD anime on all of your favorite devices such as the PlayStation, Xbox and mobile.
Oh my god!
And with Demon Slayer Season 2 airing right now, you can watch the latest episode as soon as 1 hour after it is in Japan, as well as some of our favorite anime like One Piece, Tokyo Revengers and Attack on Titan's final season, which is right around the corner. Crunchyroll offers more than 90% of all officially licensed anime content in the world, which means you will always have something new to binge whenever you get bored and experience all the hype completely ad-free. Alright, now let's get back to the video.
Yoriichi was born in the Sengoku period in Japan with his twin brother Michikatsu. Unfortunately, in this time period, twins were seen as an extremely bad omen. To make matters worse, Yoriichi was born with a weird mark on his head, which we know is the predecessor to what we now call the Demon Slayer mark, which Tanjiro and the other powerful slayers have, but I'll talk more about that later on in a bit. Now, Yoriichi's mark was another indication to his father that he must die. Yes, I know it's a bit extreme, but this man definitely didn't want to take any chances. However, Yoriichi's mother was enraged by this, which caused him to agree to leave Yoriichi alive, but at the age of 10, he will be sent to a temple to live as a monk. Yoriichi's upbringing was clear abuse and neglect when compared to his twin brother. Yoriichi was given the worst of everything: food, education and medical care. Yoriichi being seen as this tragedy and bad omen to the family, his father, out of fear, pretty much outcasted him by locking him away and separating him from his entire family. Either due to his timid and reclusive nature or maybe upbringing, Yoriichi was seen as deaf because he would never speak and wouldn't interact with people directly. However, with these shortcomings, Yoriichi actually had benefits due to his birthmark and was blessed by God. The universe had gifted him abilities to counter the curse of Muzan. The world had created this counterbalance of good against evil and sin that Muzan was creating on Earth. Chapter 186, Yoriichi even admits that his purpose of being born was simply to kill Muzan. Even though Yoriichi grew up in hardship, he had a greater purpose, which directly links back to Ubayashiki's words to Muzan himself, who counters his philosophy once they meet. Muzan, being the Ubayashiki's ancestor, created a curse they have within their own family because he sought immortality and feared death. This was all stemmed from his false belief that becoming immortal and a demon is what bestows the powers human would seek to fulfill a life of enrichment. However, Ubayashiki stated that humans' thoughts and will is what truly is eternal, where in Muzan's case, his words and belief are futile, as what makes humans last forever is through love of their memories and the goodness that they spread. This metaphor and philosophy is literally composed within Yoriichi's character. Like, Yoriichi was an extremely loving, selfless and good-hearted person that passed on his thoughts and will. His thoughts, memories and even teachings lasted hundreds of years, just as long as the demon Muzan. Even though he would think humans are inferior, Yoriichi's eternal will and thoughts eventually led to Tanjiro to carry out this righteous path and gave all the Demon Slayers his powers to help defeat Muzan. But coming back to Yoriichi's childhood, these blessed powers of the mark bestowed Yoriichi with super physical feats and ability to see through living beings, aka transparency. These special traits even gave Yoriichi the sense of his mother's sickness, so he would often be clinging to her left side to help her keep her body up straight. But other people saw it as Yoriichi clinging to his mother as a useless child. Even his brother Michikatsu saw Yoriichi as a pitiful person, so feeling sorry, he would sneak around to see and support Yoriichi when he could. Sadly, at times Michikatsu was reprimanded by his father just for spending some time with Yoriichi. It wasn't until Yoriichi was 7 years old that he began to speak and smile for the first time, surprising everyone including his brother Michikatsu, when he declared he would become a samurai, a goal he decided upon due to seeing his brother training. Michikatsu didn't take this seriously though, because of Yoriichi being sent to the temple at the age of 10. However, to the surprise of everyone, one of the men training Michikatsu decides to humor Yoriichi by showing him a sword stance, which the younger twin instantly begins fighting, landing multiple hits on the trainer. Yoriichi's brother was even more shocked because he himself never even landed one hit in all his time training. Though showing his natural affinity and talent, landing the attacks made Yoriichi feel uncomfortable because he did not like hitting people, so he then renounced his goal to become a samurai. His brother Michikatsu asked Yoriichi how he managed to even hit his trainer, which Yoriichi then described what is seen as an early form of the breeding styles. But Yoriichi, being Yoriichi, a kind boy, would rather play board games and fly kites with his brother instead. However, this brotherhood didn't last long. As the night their mother passed away from illness, Yoriichi went to tell his brother the news and that he would be going to the temple. Yoriichi expressed gratitude to his brother and kept the flute Michikatsu made for him. Later, Michikatsu found and read their mother's diaries, finding out that Yoriichi knew about their mother's sickness all along. He also finds out that Yoriichi didn't go to the temple, but instead ran away so that Michikatsu can still become the true successor. But this somehow made Michikatsu envious of his younger twin's genius of him showing gratitude when he received nothing. It's very likely that Michikatsu grew up pitying his brother. One could even say that he felt superior and felt responsible for his brother. But after realizing his brother's enlightened attitude, Michikatsu might have felt that his superiority was challenged. But coming back to Yoriichi, for one day and night, he ran as fast as he could away from the temple without showing any sign of fatigue. He ended up in the mountains where he met Uta, a girl around his age who had lost her entire family. The two children ended up living together for 10 years and eventually fell in love, married, and then Uta became pregnant. Sweet as this sounds, but you guys should know this is called Demon Slayer, and in a world of demons, good things don't last. Yes, Yoriichi's peaceful love life came to an end. Just before the expected birth, Yoriichi left his home to find a midwife. He unfortunately lost too much time helping an old man, so he decided to head back home and summon the midwife for the next day. He had promised to be back to Uta before sunset. However, sun had just set with him arriving home to see Uta and his unborn child killed by a demon. This tragedy devastated Yoriichi, causing him to cry, holding their bodies for 10 days straight. It wasn't until a demon slayer came looking for the culprit that he ended up burying his family. Now with vengeance on his mind, Yoriichi picked up the sword and began training as a demon slayer. Yoriichi already had a natural talent for swordsmanship, but the addition of his birthmark made him an extremely powerful demon slayer. Eventually and coincidentally, Yoriichi reunited with his older brother when Michikatsu's samurai encampment was attacked by a demon, only leaving the latter alive. Yoriichi kills the demon easily and expresses apologies to his brother for the death of his fellow swordsman. However, this very interaction caused his brother Michikatsu to become a demon slayer as well. Now, as I said earlier, Yoriichi was a godsend to the world, likely to offset the unnatural discourse the world was falling into because of Muzan. He was born with the mark that allowed him to see into the transparent world, showing him the workings of oneself. Just imagine being able to see muscles, blood flow, and joint movements of living beings. This would not only help in predicting and reacting to his opponent's moves, but also help understanding to manipulate his own body. With this birth-given power, Yoriichi created the sun breathing technique for fighting against demons, and tried to teach all the other demon slayers this technique as well, but they were unable to do so, so he adjusted it to match their strength. This led to the creation of the first breathing techniques variations: water, wind, flame, stone, and thunder breathing. The demon slayers who were the best at these forms became the original Hashira. So you can say that Yoriichi created all the original breathing styles and the concept of Hashira within the demon slayer organization. Even his brother Michikatsu, who not too long ago was at the perils of death, was immensely able to become stronger with Yoriichi's Yoriichi's teachings. However, after Michikatsu realized he was unable to use the sun breathing technique, so he used the derivative which he later named the breath of the moon. With that said, Yoriichi's blessing to the world didn't just stop with the invention of breath styles, as eventually the mark he was born with slowly started to resonate with the other demon slayers, and once they had awakened the mark for themselves, the world had ushered into the golden era for the demon slayer core. Sadly though, this era did not last long and the mark would disappear. This was because despite increased power, the mark reduced their lifespans due to the strain on their bodies, so the users would die upon reaching the age of 25. Now obviously this isn't definitive, as Yoriichi himself was able to bypass this by living up to the age of 85. However, in fear of dying from the mark, Yoriichi's own twin brother decided to just turn into a demon and become immortal. Yeah, he's like bun dying innit? Either way, regardless of the negative side effects of, death, the mark was something to be feared of and gave Yoriichi the upper hand in battle. This effectively made Yoriichi the greatest swordsman and demon slayer to have ever lived. Let's not forget that even as a child, with no training, he was able to easily defeat a trained swordsman, striking a swordsmaster in multiple areas across his body faster than the eye can process. With Yoriichi's access to the transparent world, he was able to enter the selfless state. He completely erased his presence from the battlefield, removing all sense of emotions and intent to fight, gave off any bloodlust, anger, hatred, drive, and animosity. This state literally countered most of his high-level opponents who had the ability to detect malice, aura, or fighting spirit through their extrasensory perception. Yoriichi was looked up as a literal samurai god, where even his swordsmanship was so broken that a battle doll model after him had to be made with 6 arms, wielding katanas and utilizing 108 techniques to even attempt to imitate his skills, and even then the doll was still significantly inferior compared to him. Now obviously this doll wasn't able to replicate any of Yoriichi's breath styles, which in itself is heavens above any other techniques. Like, this is even proven by his 13th form of the sun breath, where Yoriichi was able to continuously perform all 12 forms of the sun breathing in repetitive succession to increase the accuracy and agility of his movements whilst reducing fatigue. This very form was created solely for the purpose of killing Muzan, since the repetition of all 12 forms aims to destroy all Muzan's 12 vital organs which moved freely inside his body. To top things off, Yoriichi being a supernatural swordsman wasn't enough, as he even had a tremendous effect on his Nichirin blade and was the first ever person to turn it bright red in color. When fighting, Yoriichi was able to switch his black sword into bright red at will, allowing him to stop the enhanced regeneration of demons, even Muzan's instant regeneration, burning him at a cellular level, which actually left scars on his body for hundreds of years to come. It was also noted by Muzan himself that Yoriichi's bright red blade was far more effective than those of the current generation of Hashiras and Tanjiro, as Yoriichi could completely negate Muzan's near absolute regeneration for a short period of time, whilst the modern era of demon slayers can only slow it down ever so slightly, despite the fact that Muzan was in a much weaker condition because of the drug he was given. But now that you guys know how overpowered Yoriichi is, Harrison is going to take it over and explain what ended up happening to Yoriichi and how this Chad of a man made Muzan crap his pants, being the only person to ever come close to killing him all on his own.
Thank you, Yusuf. So not too long after these events, Yoriichi encountered Muzan, who at the time was accompanied by Tamayo. In this meeting, Yoriichi could sense the boiling malice and violence within Muzan, which is when he understood that he was in fact born with the skills needed to defeat Muzan once and for all. Muzan didn't take Yoriichi seriously and tried to kill him instantly, but Yoriichi dodged the attacks, feeling fear for the very first time. Yoriichi opened his eyes into the transparent world and realized that Muzan in fact had 7 hearts and 5 brains that moved throughout his body. Yoriichi combined all his forms into one attack, allowing him to cut through all of his organs, overpowering Muzan, leaving him in complete disbelief because he couldn't regenerate and could barely keep his head on. Yoriichi asked Muzan what the value of life was to him, but he was met with no answer, and noticed Tamayo was happy seeing Muzan being defeated. Out of fear, Muzan exploded his body into 1,800 pieces, but due to being surprised by the explosion, Yoriichi could only destroy 1,500 of those pieces. Even though Muzan was able to escape and regenerate, he stayed fearful of Yoriichi even during the current Demon Slayer story events. face. Tamayo was angered that Muzan could survive decapitation, and also realised that the curse he placed on her had weakened, allowing Tamayo to tell Yoriichi everything she knew about Muzan. Due to her hate for Muzan as well as her cooperation, Yoriichi allowed her to live. Not too long after this, Yoriichi is told by demon slayers that his brother had become a demon and had betrayed the organisation. The demon slayers demanded that Yoriichi kill himself to take responsibility for his brother's actions, as well as letting Muzan and Tamayo escape, but the master at the time prevented it. In many ways, this parallels Tanjiro and Nezuko's story in the current events of Demon Slayer, where his sister was turned into a demon, but this time against her will with no intention to betray. Now banished from the Demon Slayer organisation, Yoriichi decided to find someone to tell his life story to. He thought of Sumiyoshi and Suyako, and thus decided to visit them, telling everything about his life, starting from his childhood, talking about his tragedies and his mistakes. Basically, Yoriichi just showed them this video. Anyway, Yoriichi went silent, reminded of his mistakes, until Sumire, a young child, asks for a hug, bringing him out of his despair. Yoriichi established a close relationship with the Kamado household, and would perform the sun-breathing techniques for Suyako, being likened to a spirit rather than a human, while Sumiyoshi, the direct ancestor to Tanjiro, would watch his movements intently and memorize them. During Yoriichi's final visit to the Kamado household, he gave Sumiyoshi his Hanafuda Ear Rings, signaling to the family it would be his final visit, causing Sumiyoshi to call out to him, letting him know that he was a man of worth, as he promised to preserve the sun-breathing form through his descendants. During Yoriichi's reign, he was able to overcome the rumour that demon slayers who had awoken their marks died before the age of 25, as he lived until his 80s. He did, however, go blind during this period, but this didn't stop him from slaying demons. He kept going until the day he died, where he finally encountered his brother, Michikatsu, once again, who had now become Muzan's strongest warrior and upper rank 1 demon, going by the name of Kokushibo. Seeing his brother in this state caused Yoriichi to cry, creating disgust within Kokushibo, but Yoriichi was prepared to kill him nonetheless, despite the love he had for his brother. However, Kokushibo went from feeling superior to feeling nothing but fear when he understood the power of his brother Yoriichi had not weakened despite his old age. Yoriichi would even inform his brother of when he would strike, yet Kokushibo was still unable to react in time, showcasing Yoriichi's immense ability, outperforming his brother despite him now being Muzan's most powerful demon. This infuriated Kokushibo, who prepared for a second strike from his brother. However, Yoriichi's second strike never came. He had passed away standing due to his old age and frail body. But this angered Kokushibo even more because Yoriichi had now died undefeated. The now bitter Kokushibo attacked Yoriichi's lifeless body out of anger and realised he was still carrying the flute that he had gifted him as a child. You see, Yoriichi's life was full of tragedy, just like any demon slayer. His journey was the beginning of Muzan's destruction. He was the originator of all breathing styles, giving the demon slayers a new level of power to fight against the demons with, and even instilled fear in Muzan that carried on for generations, and was resparked just at the sight of his Hanafuda Ear Rings. Due to Yoriichi deciding to tell the Kamado household about his life story, it created a path for Tanjiro to become the hero of the Demon Slayers, and using his familial memories and connections to truly put an end to Muzan's tyranny. You can call it poetic how Tanjiro was led to be the one to finish Muzan, and how Muzan himself created the path to his own destruction. As it was said by Kaguya, the master of the Demon Slayers and head of the Ubuyashiki family at the time. In their confrontation, Muzan created his own demise by creating the ideals and morals of the Demon Slayers by creating the demons. Where he would take the lives of people's loved ones, he would make more enemies that hated him. Not only in Yoriichi, but even Tanjiro by killing his family and leaving Nezuko to become a demon, creating the pathway for Tanjiro's eventual victory, saving mankind. The connection between Yoriichi and Tanjiro may not have ever sparked because of his father's death before he could fully teach Tanjiro swordsmanship or the Kagura dance, but due to Muzan's overconfidence, he inadvertently reconnected Tanjiro with the teachings his father was supposed to pass down. It is obvious that Yoriichi was the strongest Demon Slayer ever, being able to fight in his 80s, outliving the Demon Slayer Mark's limited lifespan, whilst also still being a formidable opponent to even the upper rank 1, who only died due to the efforts of 3 Hashira and Genya's demon form taking advantage of Kokushibo's momentary pause mid-battle as he began questioning his true reasonings to live. It took 9 Demon Slayers to take out Muzan, and he truly was killed due to the poison created by Shinobu and Tamayo, but they still needed to stall him for for them to take full effect. Yoriichi, on the other hand, defeated Muzan instantly, even after feeling fear for the first time ever. Even when Muzan used a cowardly move to escape, Yoriichi was still so close to finishing him off. Muzan stayed hidden from him for the rest of Yoriichi's life, even when he was an old man. Muzan was absolutely terrified of his existence. He stood no chance against him, and he knew it. Even though he isn't a main character per se, you can easily make a case for Yoriichi being one of, if not the most important Demon Slayer in the entire history of their organization. That being said, he believed he wasn't able to truly fulfill the goal he felt was meant for him in life, but he was so wrong. It was his destiny to create the breathing styles for the Demon Slayer, as well as also being the one to remind Muzan he was not invincible or immortal. He was the living example of these ideas, morals, and values of the people who had suffered from Muzan's selfishness. A huge lesson learned from Yoriichi's journey lies in self-worth. He was a powerful man who felt like he had very little value after losing his wife and son, letting Muzan escape and even seeing his own twin brother turn into a demon. The truth is though that he always found a way to overcome the tragedies before him. He was able to stand strong after being shown the path of a demon slayer, and became the catalyst for other strong-willed men and women to fight for their freedom against the demon. It is important to always look at the positives even in a tragedy. Understand that the negatives are reality, but so are the positive things that can come from such tragedies. What can you do next? How can you stand strong even when it seems like hell itself is at your doorstep? Even what you consider a failure can be another's inspiration. That is the message I felt was being delivered through Yoriichi's story, and why the Kamado family was able to pass his earrings and legacy down for so many generations, finally freeing the world from Muzan's terror. Guys, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you leave a like. Get in the comment section down below. What do you guys think of Yoriichi in Demon Slayer? Also make sure to subscribe if you're not already, and of course ding that notification bell. We'll be seeing you guys in another video very soon, but until then, bye bye.